Yeah, we were really excited and anxious to get back on the practice field this week. After reviewing the Ohio game, that was a really bad day for our football program. I thought it was a very uninspired effort. I've been the head coach here, and our staff's been here for 19 games. That was probably the most disappointing performance that we've had, and not just from a performance standpoint. There's been games here, Michigan and Boise that, I think maybe we were outmatched and we played a really good football team. That's the first MAC game that we've not even been competitive in. It was really disappointing. We played with very little emotion. Our energy level was terrible, and you have to play with emotion, you have to play with energy, even to be able to compete in a game like that, let alone win a game like that. And you just go back and watch that film. In our entire program, we're guaranteed 12 opportunities to play a game every year, and we completely wasted one of them. And again, I don't want to take, I want to give Ohio credit. They played very well. But our energy, our effort, it was just really disappointing. And games like that just absolutely crush you as a coach, because it's our job to get the guys ready and our job to get them ready to play, and we obviously failed to do that at an acceptable level on Saturday. And there's issues we have. We've got a couple of major issues in our program right now. Number one is we've got, we had concerns going into the season about depth and inexperience, and those concerns are realities. Right now in our program, we do not have a lot of internal competition. After you see a performance like that and you show it to your team, you'd love to go in there and say, listen, this is unacceptable, every job is open. There's competition everywhere, nobody's starting job is guaranteed. The reality of it is we don't have that option. We're playing the players we have. And from that standpoint, that's just where we are numbers-wise in our program right now. And we're working very hard, and that is a process to get that corrected and fixed. We've started to do that with the recruiting. But the real issue is that when you don't have internal competition, the guys that you're playing with have to have a tremendous amount of pride. They're going to show up every week and play with effort and play for Bowling Green and play for each other, and up to a certain Bowling Green standard. And that standard involves playing with toughness and playing with effort and playing for each other. And those things have nothing to do with talent. A great player should play that way, and a not good player should play that way. Those are things that every player controls, and that was the most disappointing thing about the game. Is just, and we had some guys that played hard, but not across the board and not at the level that should be expected at Bowling Green, that our fans and our alumni and our former players should expect. So I was very disappointed. So we're working extremely hard to get that corrected and get that fixed. This is a week, if we don't get it fixed, we could get run right off the field. Temple is a very strong program. Temple right now is, in terms of the development of their program, much further ahead than we are. They start, of their 22 starters, 20 of them are juniors and seniors, which means, of the 22 guys they start, 20 of them have been in their program at least 3 years, if not more. And 12 of those guys have been in their program 4 or more years, between their redshirt juniors and redshirt seniors. So, this is a program that's been hardened. A lot of those players, when they first started playing or when they first got there, were 1-11, 4-8, 5-7. They very methodically and systematically have built a program, around being tough and around being physical, and those are areas right now that we're not playing up to an acceptable level. So we need to have a great week of practice. Really, ever since the Michigan game, our practices have been poor, and we've done some things much differently this week to make sure that gets corrected. And with where we are from an experience standpoint, we just don't have enough guys that, have played games before that get themselves ready to play at the level we need. So we need to do a better job as a coaching staff of making sure the tempo in practice is more game-like, so they're ready to go. And we've done some things this week and made practice more physical, and we need to make sure our team responds this Saturday, because with the group we're playing, you know, they are as physical a team probably as there is in the conference, and they're experienced. Those guys know how to win. Those guys have paid a price. They've been through tough times, and they were picked to win the East, and for obvious reasons. They're an extremely talented football team. So we're going to have to play great football this week on the road in Philadelphia against one of the top teams in our conference right now.
You said last week that it hasn't been a challenge to get these guys up. You feel like, you know, or something along those lines. On Saturday, was it a challenge for you to get the guys ready, or what do you think the biggest issue was there?
Well, we really practiced poorly last week, and you know, even after the Michigan game, I turned on the film and I saw guys playing with effort. I saw guys at times overmatched. I saw guys maybe get exposed in space, but I saw guys even playing hard, even late in the game when they were ripping off runs. We had backside corners chasing it down and preventing touchdowns. On offense, we had offensive linemen going downfield and trying to make blocks, and receivers, and you know, you could grade it on every play. We grade effort, and you know, if you don't give effort on a play, we call it a loaf. We didn't have a lot of loaves. In the Buffalo game, executed terrible, but there weren't a lot of loaves. And in the Ohio game, I mean, the first defensive play of the game, we create a fumble, Dwayne Wood picks it up and runs to the 3-yard line, and we've got 4 guys that aren't even chasing the ball down. I've never seen something like that here in our first 19 games. And, you know, again, and part of that is an issue that, you know, in good programs where there's a lot of competition, there's internal competition, if you do that, you don't play. And we, unfortunately, from a number standpoint, those are empty threats. We're playing the guys we have. There's not a lot of internal competition in our program right now. You know, that is going to be fixed here very quickly, just from a number standpoint. But this year, the guys that are playing are what we're playing with. And I told them, I go, if I threaten you by taking away playing time, you know it's an empty threat. You know, the amount of positions on our team that were won out of default is scary. And it was a concern this year going into it. Now, certain positions, it's competitive. Wide receiver was competitive. You know, safety in our program right now is a non-competitive position. You know, anytime that you have a walk-on receiver get moved and start in the secondary for you and not even have competition for the job, that's never. And Javon Laycock has an opportunity to be a very good player in our program, but he really didn't have to beat anybody out to win the job. And so what happens is guys get comfortable in their roles because sometimes they win jobs not because they necessarily had to fight for it and win it, but there was nobody else to compete for it. And again, that's why we recruited a bunch of safeties last year, and we're redshirting a lot of those guys, and they're seeing on film right now the opportunity they're going to have very quickly. But in the short term, we've got to get it fixed now. You know, we want to win football games this year. And unless we play with better energy and better intensity and more attention to detail, and unless we practice that way, you know, there's no easy fix. You know, there's no snap of the fingers that somebody's going to come and save our safety position. You know, we are who we are. We're playing the guys we have, and we've got to prepare them better and make sure they play at a higher level.
And so I think people are always quick to blame a coach. At some point, is it players have to take responsibility for themselves and get themselves ready, or what is it?
It's collective. It's our job as coaches to get them ready, and it's their jobs to get themselves ready. And that's where, you know, this is a different team. You know, there's basically 5 guys on our football team right now that ever had to start or prepare to start a game before this year. You know, on offense, Ben Boychuk, Tyler Donahue, and Willie Jeter. Everybody else is a first-time starter. And on defense, basically 2 players. I mean, right now, Chris Jones, who's a sophomore, and Angelo Magnone, and I'm sorry, Kevin Alvarado would be the 3rd. You know, the rest of the guys that we line up there have never had to start or play a football game before and play significant snaps. And Saturday, they obviously didn't take the privilege of starting and playing football game for Bowling Green seriously enough, and that is what's really disappointing. And you know, that we had to, and we talked about it in the meeting about, you know, when they put on the uniform and they play for Bowling Green and they play for the Falcons, there's a tradition and a standard that needs to be upheld, and we did not uphold it or come even close to upholding it on Saturday, and that as a coach just absolutely crushes you. And you know, it's at the end of the day that we need to get them ready, and we need to make them understand the importance of practice and the privilege of playing a game and how few and how short those opportunities are. And we completely wasted one, and we can't waste another one.